Welcome to yet another episode of Law Unplugged. In this fun session with us we have Mr. Abhishek Naik, who's a chartered accountant currently pursuing his final year of law from GLC Mumbai and concurrently working in Khaitan Company in the Indirect Taxation Team. In this fun session he will share his journey doing CA, pursuing his LLB and concurrently working in Khaitan Company and his key takeaways from attending the Harvard US India initiative. So please like this video, subscribe to LawUnplugged and share this to as many people as possible. In case of any queries, please feel free to reach out to us on YouTube and LinkedIn. So without any further ado, let's jump right into the discussion.
Hello, welcome to LawUnplugged. Today with us we have a very special guest. With us we have Mr. Abhishek Naik, who's currently an associate for Khaitan Company. He's also CA. After doing CA, it was only then he joined Khaitan Co and he started doing law in the Government Law College of Mumbai. So without any further ado, let's jump right into it. So, firstly, Abhishek, how are you? How do you feel? Kaisa hai?
Masta, I'm great. How are you?
Very good. Blessed to have you here.
It's great that a startup has emerged from NLU Nagpur. Happy to know that.
Thank you. Yeah. So first of all, I really want to ask you that, can you please take us through your journey doing BCom, doing CA and doing your articleship at the same time. So how were those days like?
So I'm from Nagpur. So Nagpur, as you would of course know because you're studying here, it's really relaxed and quiet and doesn't have the hustle and bustle of cities like Mumbai. It's just that there are no big ticket law firms here. It would have been better if a Khaitan or a CAM had established their offices here, or a couple of the big four accounting firms, but sadly there aren't any. But be that as it may, it's a really livable city, compact, accessible, lots of greenery, and I absolutely love it. And not because I was brought up here, but even objectively, there's nothing really to not like about the city, I feel. So I went to school here, then junior college, university, chartered accountancy. I did my classes from here, underwent articleship training for 3 years in Nagpur, and thereafter also qualified as a chartered accountant. So it was actually my father who chose this profession for me, and I just went. But looking back, I feel that it was a really, really good decision since it's a very wonderfully structured and very interesting course. Now, as far as BCom is concerned, I really have no significant memories. Because of our articleship, we could not really attend any classes. So all the memories that I have really focus or really revolve around my articleship period, since that was in equal terms challenging and enjoyable. Now, an articleship is just like an internship, okay, but it's only for a continuous period of 3 years. So it's like a full-time job in office, 11 to 5, 10 to 5. So it gets really tough to balance CA fine classes with full-time office. So in my case, I was also involved in several outstation assignments, which required me to travel significantly and miss classes. But it was a really fun experience. And yes, balancing classes and office was tough. But then that's a trade-off that more or less every CA student is compelled to make. I mean, at some point. So we used to have classes in the mornings before office a couple of hours, and in the evenings also after 6 p.m. for a couple of hours, for 2-3 hours or so, and sometimes both mornings and evenings. So yes, it pushed you, but then it was all worth it in the end, looking back, really. And of course, I also played basketball for quite a while. I played competitive basketball for over 10 years until I think 2013, 2014, by which time I was in my second year of articleship, yes, and regularly had classes in the evenings. So I played for my school, college, as well as my club. It's really a shame that I haven't played much in the past 6 years, but yeah, it served as a nice respite from the monotony of work. Actually, I used to argue with my parents, who were of the view that since I wasn't going to make a career out of basketball, that I should focus more on CA, but yeah, ultimately I had to quit. There was nothing really I could do. But yes, that was again a very good decision, opting to play and continuing to play until absolutely I was left with no choice. because taking up a sport and pursuing it passionately for so many years teaches you a lot of qualities aside from the importance of physical fitness. You get to work in a team, assign roles, strategize, observe the opposite team, and etc. So basketball has been an important part of my life and of my childhood, of course. And so all in all, it was a really enjoyable childhood in Nagpur.
Yeah, right. Well, wonderful. I mean, exactly, playing any sport, not only basketball. I mean, it is very
Absolutely,
good.
yeah.
Yeah, when you are articling or doing any internship, you have something to look back to. Not look back to, but when you complete that hectic internship, you have something to do. Yeah, so it
Yes,
really
as I said, it's a nice
keeps you going.
respect. Yeah, keeps you going. Definitely.
Also, like I played from NASA, so I also played basketball for like
Oh,
5 years.
wonderful. I was in SNG.
SNGU,
Yeah.
the premier club of Nagpur.
Is it? Okay.
Yeah. Oh, why not? I mean, there are very handful of clubs in Nagpur in the first place, and then there is SNG, which is leading. After that, there is CPS. Like right as of now, I am telling the rankings. After that, all are equal. I mean, more or less. These two are the doyens of basketball.
Yeah.
Right,
It
so-
was a great club when I used to play. Yeah.
Yeah.
I haven't been following much since, but yeah.
Yeah. So if you know, NBYS was born out of NASA. So all the
I've heard that. Yeah.
all the big shots of NBYS were once committed to the development of NASA, but then some were at
Separated.
loggerheads with the management, I guess. Maybe something like that. Okay. So moving ahead now, tell us that how did you choose to take up the field of law? How was it? How did you end up getting a placement at Khaitan?
Yeah, I was at Mesh Associates, and I joined Khaitan just 1 year ago. So now the question that I often get asked is, why a law firm and not a CA firm, or why a law firm or not a Big Four or an accounting firm? And which is a really valid and really good question. So we'll need to step back a bit to answer that. So while studying for CA final, I realized that I liked tax more than the other subjects. And we had a book called Select Cases in Direct and Indirect Tax Laws, which essentially was a compilation of certain important case laws. And we had a compulsory 25-mark question on case laws. And that was my first ever exposure to tax litigation. I mostly did audits during my articleship and was not so exposed to the jurisprudence surrounding tax laws. But I found that book to be an absolute gem. So the case laws mentioned in the book were just so articulately drafted. The arguments, the nuances of law, aspects of interpretation, all of this was completely new to me at that time. And how conflicts can arise in interpretation, and how to resolve those conflicts, what happens if there's an ambiguity, how courts have interpreted seemingly straightforward provisions to resolve disputes, and so on. Also, how courts have struck down various legal and various provisions on constitutional and legal grounds. And all of this really captured my imagination. So I was just so mesmerized by that book, so much so that I actually used to remember a great deal of case laws quite effortlessly because I was just so interested in them. So yes, coming back, that is when I decided that litigation was something that I really wanted to pursue, really wanted to try out. And not just general litigation, of course, but tax litigation, because tax is what I had extensively, tax is a huge part of the CA curriculum. So just tax litigation, since I already love tax. So the natural choice was a law firm. So because CAs are allowed to represent only until the tribunal level. And the best kind of litigation takes place, of course, at the High Court and the Supreme Court level. So and because these accounting firms do not do a lot of litigation, I thought trying for a job at a law firm would be a better option. And looking back, safe to say that's probably one of the best decisions that I have ever made, hands down. And I had to wait for a few months before landing a job at Vesh. I was told that law firms prefer lawyers more, even in their tax teams. But Wesh, I guess, being a tax-dominated firm, was the only firm that responded to my email back in 2016. And by God's grace, I got in there. And yes, it was a great experience. And now the same continues at Khaitan. So I moved on in August of 2019. And since then, I am at Khaitan. So yeah, same continues. So yeah, on balance, it's safe to say that CA firms still largely focus on compliance, which is essentially a fancy word for return filing, whereas law firms focus more on litigation and advisory. And I find compliance to be quite monotonous and boring, which is why, again, a law firm made more sense.
Also, like just to take a follow up, had you been given a choice by your father to choose between CA and law? Oh,
I would have definitely still gone for CA.
oh man, why is that? Why is that so? Like why? What's
No,
the thought? What thought
See,
did
law.
put
This
that?
is also a great course. Now, I am studying law, right? I'm in my final year and final semester, so I know what this course contains. But of course, I find, the subjects in CA were much more. I personally, of course, it's my personal opinion, but they were. I found all of them to be quite interesting, whereas that unfortunately was not the case with law, because you're compelled to study family, environment, etc., all of which are labor. But in CA, you have a great variety. You have costing, financial management, and direct tax, indirect tax. So yeah, the business side of it, CA teaches you, which is why.
Right. Just to add to that, how did you manage time? I mean, just merely doing a law course is itself very demanding, and you manage a job at a big law firm and do law at GLC. So how do you manage time? I've heard that GLC students are they can intern around the year, but still, how do you manage?
Correct. So I think, you all being NLU students, I think the curriculum in universities, like traditional universities, not law universities, it's, I think, much more. I think you have a more demanding curriculum than I think we have, or your schedule is more demanding. And here, we just have college for like the 4 hours every day in the morning. But I'm just saying we have college. I did not attend a lot of classes, but yeah. So actually, yeah, that was the key, because and in the 3-year course, of course, not a lot of people attend classes. So, but I still tried to attend a few important lectures. But yeah, so to answer your question, basically, yes, it's really very difficult to manage classes as well as a full-time job. So one of them has to give way, and in my case, it was the classes. So yeah, did not attend a lot of classes, which is why I could focus more extensively on my job. And then during exams, of course, you take leaves and also, yeah, you can study then.
And and do you ever feel to, every law student, I mean, your batchmates in GLC must be doing Moot Courts, they must be, going to client counseling competitions, they must be writing research papers. So do you ever, that miss out that मुझे ये भी करना चाहिए था ऐसे?
So to be honest, Ameya, 3-year students are generally more, 5-year students are more enthusiastic about all of that. 3-year, so the people who apply for 3-year course actually do it just to have an additional qualification. It's not a lot of people do it as a full-time thing. Okay, so it's understandable for somebody who is in the 5-year course to apply for internships in every semester break, focus on research papers, writing articles, attending Moot Courts, etc. But not so much in the 3-year course, where people already have something else going on. So, and it's just as an additional qualification they choose law. So yes, yeah.
Right. So moving further, you were selected as a delegate in the HPAIR's annual conference, and also you've been attending the Harvard US India Initiative, that is the HUII, that conference for the past 3 years. So how has that helped you to improve your skill set, and what can be the 2-3 key things to take away?
Yeah, sure. Well, a great deal, actually. So apart from networking, of course, all of this really helps in enlarging one's perspective. So as a background, HPAIR is an international students conference where social, economic, and political issues relevant to the Asia Pacific region are discussed. And it's a biannual event. So there's a Harvard edition, which takes place at Harvard itself. And then there's an Asia edition, which takes place somewhere in Asia, somewhere in the Asia Pacific region. And HUII is an India specific event, but along the same lines. So my main reason for applying for these conferences was this. As CA students, we have almost zero college life. As a result, we lose out on a lot of networking and socializing opportunities. We do not have events, fests, etc. So it's just a 3-year articleship at one firm. We're only allowed to change the firm once. So, you can imagine. So there's nothing really extracurricular that a typical CA student does, and that's quite unfortunate. Which is why the effort to apply to all these conferences so that one gets to know people outside of one's own discipline, and the interaction definitely broadens your perspective and worldview. The exposure that one gets there gets at such conferences, at such events, is simply amazing. You get to know people from all walks of life. You get to listen to such amazing speakers, and it also helps a great deal in networking. So and of course, the icing on the cake is the Harvard edition of the HPAIR conference is held at the Harvard University itself. So getting a chance to actually visit the university and interact with folks there it's an opportunity too good to put down. It's something that I would highly recommend. Sure.
So moving on, as I said earlier, it is quite hectic to manage law school. I mean, not the classes part of it, but giving the exams and working in a tier 1 law firm. So how should a young lawyer cope up with such hectic life, and what do you do to as a, let's say, to take away all the stress, stress buster?
To rejuvenate.
Yeah, exactly, rejuvenate.
So basically the key is to of course it's no secret that there's a lot of work in all these major firms, and sometimes you often have to stay until late or even work on weekends. But then I think the key really is to prioritize. And it's something that I have, I myself struggled with it in my first few months, at Khaitan and even at Wedge, because when you are new to the team, new to the practice, you get overwhelmed by the amount of work, and plus a variety of other issues. So basically the key is in, prioritizing. A lot of people get bogged down, get overworked, etc. And that is a reality at in big firms that happens. The stress is there. It's physically demanding, it's mentally demanding. But then, of course, if you have more work than you can, that you can possibly deliver, then there's, I think, no shame in approaching your partner and being vocal about it. And basically, as I said, the key is prioritizing. So whatever is really important and urgent, that should be given the most priority, and the less urgent things can be spilled over and can be, but that is really, it becomes difficult sometimes because a lot of urgent things are have to be done at the same time. But anyway, so to rejuvenate, basically Saturday, Sunday, you get 2 days if there is no work, that is. So so if there is no work, then of course just relax, take time off. So I stay alone. So I quite like my space. So I just peacefully spend the day. Sometimes doing nothing. Sometimes reading books. Sometimes go meet a friend, etc. And even during the day, I think. So I travel by car both ways. So that is. A lot of people ask me, because spending so much time in office and then traveling, then driving all the way from Andheri to Lower Parel and back. Is that not demanding? But then for me, that acts as a stress buster because I really like driving. So there I utilize that time to listen to podcasts or some interesting interviews on YouTube, etc. So that is how I try to that basically acts as a stress buster. And then of course there's no you can even during the day you can take little breaks even while in office. So yeah, all of that, you learn all of this on the job. So apart from your subject learning, you also learn all these ancillary things. So yeah, you get used to it. But the key is to, if you get a lot of work, the key is to be vocal about it. And of course there's no shame in making mistakes, of course, because this is, of course in at least in the first 3 or 4 years. So yeah, that's all. I think one should get good sleep, and one should not hesitate in taking breaks and offs in between. That is, all of that together helps one to balance this difficult life.
Great. Okay, so from now on, Rajesh will take on. This is now we come to the fun segment on your fingertips. It is kind of similar to a rapid fire round. So Rajesh, please.
Yeah,
Sure.
yeah.
Firstly, in this lockdown, each one has started a new thing. So there was a saying: if you don't get out of the lockdown learning a new skill, then you have wasted your time. I understand the working from home, the office life is quite hectic. But what is the new thing which you have started doing in this lockdown?
Well, household work, I guess. General safai. Let's be honest, lockdown has made us realize how difficult it is to manage the house. So yeah, it was a wake-up call, I think, for all of us. Who spend the better part of the day out at work. So yeah, and now that I'm in Nagpur, I've also resumed. I work out now. So yeah, after did not get a chance to do it in Mumbai, so I've now started working out.
Oh, great to hear
Working out
that.
is an addiction.
Yeah.
Just bliss. Working out
Totally.
is bliss.
Yeah, you feel fresh.
Okay, so moving on, who understands taxation better, a CA or a lawyer?
That's a very controversial question, but I'll happily answer it. So well, and the answer is this. Okay, so there are some aspects in taxation which a lawyer understands better than a CA, and then there are other aspects which a CA understands better. Okay, so for example, lawyers of course can read the law better, can read between the lines. They are better placed to comment when there's an intersection of other laws with taxation, for example, and so forth. But lawyers are also very theoretical sometimes, and focus too much on the text of the law rather than the problem that they're expected to solve, which is where I feel CAs have a great role to play. CAs, in my view, can be better trusted to give practical and workable solutions. And it's not to say that lawyers can't do it, but I'm just saying that lawyers, because they focus more on the text of the law and the theory, it's sometimes, CAs will give you a more practical answer to your problem. So because we, for the purpose of this call, I am a chartered accountant. I'm not a lawyer yet. So I'll speak for CAs. And so we know what is better for the business, and which is why we focus more on the substance than on the form. Plus, CAs, in my opinion, have better commercial awareness and understanding. And, they also know how to read and interpret financial statements. So that is a great plus. And this is important because you often need to think of how a particular transaction would look in an entity's financial statement. So there's often an intersection of tax and accounting. And CAs are undoubtedly better placed to handle that. But having said that, of course, it's not something that cannot be learned or developed over a period of time. So if a lawyer fresh out of a law school is interested in pursuing taxation, she must definitely go for it, because you learn a lot of things on the job. For example, when I had just joined VESH, I was the only person who was not a lawyer in the entire firm. As I said, because law firms prefer lawyers in their taxation practice also, and VESH was one of the few firms who had responded to my email back in 2016. So yeah, but I couldn't read the law as well as my fellow colleagues did, but I can confidently say that now I can. So I mean, similarly for young lawyers who want to give taxation a shot, I feel the opportunities are endless. So yeah, well, the answer is this. I'm not being unnecessarily diplomatic here, but then of course there are certain aspects in taxation which a lawyer understands better, and there are other aspects where CAs have the edge.
Right. Completely understand this. Now, moving forward, being an associate, if there are any interns working in your team, so can you recount of any one happening or incident where you know had to work with an intern? I mean, not had to work, but you worked with an intern, and any one incident,
So basically, so we work with interns a lot of time, but there's one common observation that I have with respect to all interns who are assigned to tax teams. And mostly when I ask them, I ask this question to all the interns, why the tax team? So, I mean, a lot of times I get the answer that, taxation was not my first choice. My first choice was corporate M&A, and because there was no vacancy, which is why taxation. But I mean, which I completely understand, because see, as law students, as I said, you only have one tax subject, so your exposure to tax is anyway limited. But then, I'm very happy to report that the interns who intern with the tax team, a lot of them develop the interest in their subject later on. So a lot of them, of course, most of them do not have any tax background, or it's usually their first tax internship. I mean, at least the interns that I have encountered. So yeah, it's great to give them. It's great to be the first point of contact with taxation for an intern. So it's great to make the person understand what taxation really is and how there is because corporate and M&A are traditionally seen as more attractive fields for lawyers who are fresh out of law school. So it's always great when somebody when you are able to convince somebody or the person develops an interest in taxation based on the internship that the person undergoes at the firm, at the tax practice of the firm. So yeah, that is something which I really look forward to. I really look forward to interacting with all the interns and try to develop a liking for tax.
Yeah, glad you brought up. You were very honest about it. Yeah. So okay. So moving on, tell us any 3 things which are your bucket list now.
I want to attend a hearing at the Supreme Court. Haven't done it until now. Either in the courtroom of Justice Nariman or Justice Chandrachud, one of them. So that is, I hope to do that. I hope to do that soon. Justice Nariman retires next year, sometime in April, I think. So I'll need to rush really. But yes, that's something that is on my bucket list. Then I want to watch a Formula One race live in Monza, Italy, which is Ferrari's home race, or the Wimbledon final. One of the 2 things live. That is the second. And the third is I want to visit Machu Picchu in Peru. Yeah. So yes, and of course, perhaps also watch the Northern Lights in Norway or Iceland.
Nice.
That would be.
Wow.
Yeah. So these are.
Wanderlust hashtag. So the next question being, so this place of this city of Bombay is so joyous, it's so exuberant, so full of energy, so extravagant in its appeal. So tell us 3, in 3 words or in 3 sentences, however you wish to do, the most that you like about Bombay. If you have to sum it up in 3 words or 3 sentences.
So vada pav, definitely, because it's an integral part of all corporate life. Vada pav is an integral part of all corporate working life. Then I really miss I mean, I really miss a few restaurants in Mumbai, Mirchi and Mime. It's incredibly sad that it had to close down permanently because of the pandemic. But that was one restaurant which I really liked. It was in Powai, and then Doolally, and the third one would be I think the people themselves. Yeah, they are. I mean, I found them to be incredibly warm and courteous.
Okay,
For the
let's
most
have a
part, but
virtual
yeah.
high five on the vada pav thing. If we can have. Yeah.
So what appeals to you more? Is it litigation? If given an option, is it
Mhm.
litigation or still M&A, in-house counseling, basically?
No, I would take litigation, and no, M&A is. M&A is really out of question because I'm into tax, right? So
Oh, sorry, right, tax.
yeah. So given a choice
Tax or
between
litigation.
advisory or litigation, I would say litigation, tax litigation.
Right, and the next question is very Mr. Harish Salve centric. So while he was in his college and school days in Nagpur, he used to go to Tadoba, to rest a while and run a mile wala concept. So he used to rest a while in Tadoba. So what were your to go places in Nagpur?
Oh, cold coffee at Checkers, certainly, and Haldirams. I mean,
Haldiram's
what
is,
other? Yes,
just captured half of Nagpur.
absolutely. Yeah.
Right. Also, and the last question being, if so, what's your dream job like? What would be the job profile that you would aspire to pursue?
Well, that would be the job that I am currently doing, which is tax litigation and advisory, but in a city like Nagpur and not in Mumbai.
Oh, okay.
So yeah,
Great.
we don't have that kind of opportunities in Nagpur, and there are opportunities in Mumbai, but then that city is. I mean, I can't live. I mean, Nagpur is a much better option.
Hope that happens
Also, you
very soon.
Yeah, in terms of balance, yes.
So you must be having a lot of friends in Nagpur, right?
Lot of
Family
friends,
and
yeah. Lot of great friends, lot of school friends, and yeah, school friends, CA friends, etc.
Great. I mean, so okay. So one last question. This is a very interesting question. Now
Sure.
that you have talked about coming back to Nagpur and doing a job that you are currently doing at Bombay. So if given an option, would you start your own firm or would you want to again
At some
start?
point in the future, no. At some point in the future, I would definitely like to start a tax firm of
Great.
my own. Yes. As I said, that my dream job would be to do the same work that I am doing in Mumbai, but just outside of Mumbai. The peace of Nagpur, the peace and sukoon and greenery of Nagpur, coupled with the opportunities of Mumbai. I guess that's too good to be true, but yeah, I mean, we can always
It's all
hope.
about perspective.
We can always
You
hope.
believe in it.
Yep.
Right. I guess this brings us to the end.
Yeah.
Mr. Garud, I want you to finish it then.
Okay, sure. I'll do it. So I'm afraid with this, it brings us to the end of a wonderful session, a very candid session. To be very honest, this has been one of the most candid sessions on LawUnplugged. This is what we expected. This was the sole objective with which we started LawUnplugged. And this, yeah. So thank you for being kind enough to actually be very frank. To be very frank, tell the truth. Yeah, so that way. So yeah,
Thank you so much. Thank you for having me, Amir, Rajesh, and the entire team at Law Unplugged. You're doing a really, really great job, guys.
Thank you.